The day my parents gave my sister $4 million, they called it a family decision. But before signing the papers, my mother looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "You've always been our biggest failure." So I signed the document, walked away with nothing. No money, no family. But 3 years later, my father's lawyer called mine. And suddenly the daughter they disowned was worth more than their entire fortune. My name is Emily Carter. And 3 years ago, my parents erased me from their lives. I still remember the exact moment it happened. It was a Sunday afternoon in my parents' living room. The house looked exactly the same as it always had. The same polished wooden table, the same expensive paintings on the walls, the same smell of coffee drifting from the kitchen. But that day felt different. Too quiet. Too formal. 12 family members were sitting in the room. My aunt. 2 uncles. My cousins. Even my grandmother. And at the center of the room sat my parents, with a stack of legal papers on the table. Next to them was my younger sister, Sophia. Smiling. My mother cleared her throat. "Emily, sit down." Her voice sounded calm. Too calm. I sat across from them. "What's going on?" I asked. My father folded his hands together. "We've made a decision about the family estate." My stomach tightened. Estate? My parents owned a successful real estate company. The business had grown for decades. Everyone knew it was worth millions. But I never cared much about money. I had spent most of my 20s trying to build my own career. Starting a small tech company with 2 college friends. It hadn't worked out. The company failed after 2 years. And ever since then, my parents had treated me like I had ruined their reputation. My father looked at me with that same familiar disappointment. "The future of this family business needs stability," he said. My mother nodded. "And responsibility." Sophia shifted slightly beside them, trying to hide a smile. Then my father pushed the documents across the table. "These are the transfer papers." "Transfer?" He looked directly at me. "We're giving the entire estate to Sophia." The room went silent. For $1 million. The business. The properties. Everything. All of it going to my younger sister. My chest felt tight. "But why?" I asked quietly. My mother sighed like she had been waiting for this moment. "Emily, you've never shown the discipline needed for success." Her words felt sharp. "You chase ideas that never work. You take risks. You embarrass the family." Every sentence landed like a punch. I looked around the room. No one spoke. Not my aunt. Not my grandmother. Not even my cousins. Sophia finally spoke. "I didn't ask for this," she said softly. But her smile didn't disappear. My father leaned back in his chair. "This isn't personal. It's practical." I felt something break inside my chest. "Then why am I here?" I asked. My mother slid another sheet of paper toward me. "Because we want this to be official." I looked down. It was a legal statement. A document confirming I would never challenge the inheritance decision. I laughed quietly. "You want me to sign this?" My father's voice hardened. "If you want to remain part of this family, yes." The words hung in the air. Part of this family. But looking around the room, I realized something. I already wasn't. My mother leaned forward. "Emily, we love you. But you've always been our biggest disappointment." For a moment, the room disappeared. All I could hear was that sentence repeating in my head. Our biggest disappointment. Picked up the pen. Signed the paper. Then I stood up. No one tried to stop me. No one even looked surprised. As I walked toward the door, my father said something that stayed with me for years. "Maybe this will finally teach you responsibility." I paused for a second. Then I opened the door. And walked out. With nothing. No inheritance. No backup plan. No family. The first year was the hardest. I moved into a small apartment across town. Worked 2 jobs. Waitress during the day. Freelance coding at night. Some nights I slept only 3 hours. Sometimes less. But something strange happened during that time. Without my parents' expectations hanging over me, I started thinking clearly again. One night while working on a freelance project, I noticed something. A flaw in a financial software system that several companies were using. It wasn't just a bug. It was a huge opportunity. If someone redesigned the system the right way, it could change the entire industry. I spent months studying it, testing ideas, writing code, slowly building something new. I didn't tell anyone, not even my old friends. For 2 years, I worked silently, until one morning my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. Hello. Hi, is this Emily Carter? Yes. My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm calling from Northbridge Capital. Northbridge Capital was one of the largest investment firms in the country. My heart started racing. We've been reviewing your financial platform prototype. My stomach dropped. How did you get that? A short laugh. You submitted it to our developer review portal 6 months ago. I had completely forgotten about that. We'd like to discuss a partnership. A partnership? With them. That conversation changed everything. But my family still had no idea. 3 years passed. And then one afternoon my phone rang again. This time the caller ID said something I hadn't seen in years. Carter and Hughes Law Office. My father's law firm. I answered slowly. Hello. A calm voice spoke. Miss Carter, this is Mr. Hughes, my father's lawyer. There's a situation we need to discuss. My heartbeat slowed. What kind of situation? He hesitated. Then he said something that made me sit down. Your father just discovered something about your company. And now he wants to talk. For the first time in 3 years, my father was the one asking for a conversation. For 3 years my parents never called me. Not once. No birthday messages. No holidays. No how are you? Nothing. So when my father's lawyer said my dad wanted to talk, my first reaction wasn't excitement. It was confusion. Why? I asked. Mr. Hughes cleared his throat. There are legal matters your father would like to discuss. Legal matters. I almost laughed. 3 years ago they had made sure there were no legal matters left between us. I already signed the disinheritance papers. I reminded him. Yes, he said carefully. But circumstances have changed. I leaned back in my chair. Changed how? He continued. Your father recently became aware of a company called ClearBridge Systems. My heart skipped. ClearBridge Systems was the financial software platform I had spent years building. The company that Northbridge Capital had invested in. The company that had quietly grown faster than I ever imagined. Last month we had signed contracts with 3 major banks. Investors were calling almost every day. But my family didn't know any of that. At least they weren't supposed to. Okay, I said slowly. And Mr. Hughes paused. Your father discovered that you are the founder. Silence filled the line. I rubbed my forehead. Of course. Of all the ways my father could find out, it had to be through lawyers and financial reports. And now? I asked. He would like to arrange a meeting. The old version of me might have said yes immediately. The version who still hoped for approval. But that girl was gone. I'm busy, I replied. Another pause. Then Mr. Hughes said something unexpected. He's offering to renegotiate the inheritance agreement. I laughed. Actually laughed. 3 years ago they had made it very clear that the family estate was going to Sophia. For $1 million. The company. Everything. And now suddenly they wanted to renegotiate? Why? I asked again. Mr. Hughes answered honestly. Because your company is currently valued at over $70 million. The room went quiet around me. Even after hearing the number many times in investor meetings, it still felt unreal. 70 million. I remembered the night I slept on my apartment floor because I couldn't afford furniture. I remembered eating instant noodles for weeks. I remembered my mother's voice. Our biggest disappointment. Miss Carter, the lawyer said. Yes. Would you be willing to meet your father? I looked out the window. 3 years ago I had walked out of that house with nothing. No family. No support. Just silence. Now suddenly they wanted a conversation. Fine, I said. One meeting. The meeting happened 2 days later. At a private conference room downtown. Neutral territory. When I walked in, my father was already sitting at the table. He looked older. More tired. For a moment he just stared at me. Like he was trying to understand something that didn't make sense. Emily, he said quietly. I sat down across from him. Hello, Dad. It was strange hearing that word again. Dad. For 3 years I had avoided saying it. He cleared his throat. I didn't realize what you had built. That's obvious. The honesty made him flinch slightly. His lawyer and my lawyer sat silently beside us. My father folded his hands. When we made the estate decision, we believed Sophia was the responsible one. You believed I was a failure, I corrected. Another pause. I may have misjudged you. Misjudged. That was a very polite way of saying it. He slid a folder across the table. I'd like to make things right. I opened the folder. Inside was a new legal proposal. An amendment to the original inheritance agreement. My father was offering me half of the family estate. $2 million. The house. Several properties. In exchange, he wanted something else. I looked at the final page. He wanted equity in my company. 5%. I looked up slowly. So let me get this straight, I said. 3 years ago, I was your biggest disappointment. Today I'm suddenly worth negotiating with. His face tightened. This isn't about pride. No. It's about family. Family. That word felt almost ironic. Where was family 3 years ago? I asked. When I signed the papers? When I walked out of that house? When I spent 2 years building something with no safety net? He didn't answer. Because there wasn't an answer. Finally he said quietly, I thought you would fail. The honesty surprised even him. But you didn't. I closed the folder. I don't need your estate. He blinked. What? I don't need your money. The room felt heavier now. Emily, he said carefully, this is a very generous offer. I nodded. I know. Then I slid the folder back across the table. But here's the problem. He waited. You didn't believe in me when I had nothing. So why would I share my success now? Silence. Long silence. My father looked at the papers, then back at me. For a moment I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. Regret. Real regret. I was wrong about you, he said. Those were the 2 words he kept repeating later. But by the time he finally said them, it didn't change anything. I stood up. Thank you for the offer, I said. But I built my life without the Carter estate. I think I'll keep it that way. I walked toward the door. Just like 3 years ago. But this time something was different. This time, I wasn't walking away with nothing. If this story meant something to you, subscribe to the channel for more powerful real-life style stories like this. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated by your own family and later proved them wrong? Your story might inspire someone who's going through the same thing right now.